Now, if the ABC has taught us anything, it is that the media can be ferocious in its pursuit of people who think differently. And in America, we are witnessing this issue played out in reverse as the gushing media establishment moves heaven and earth to make President Joe Biden seem presidential. As Biden fronted the CNN town hall this week, his chief stenographer, Don Lemon, was on the case. And boy, did Don come prepared with some tough questions for the big guy.
President, you've been the big guy for 6 months now in the White House. Can you take us behind the scenes, something that was extraordinary or unusual that happened that stands out to you?
Yeah, Mr. President, you didn't close the door. Mr. President, what the hell are you going out at this time for, it's a wonderful honor. As you can tell, I hope I have very good manners, but I'm not very hung up on protocol. And and the Secret Service is wonderful.
What was that? Let's start unpacking that question, which was, can you tell us something extraordinary? One thing, just one thing that has stood out to you during your time as leader of the free world. Could you possibly hand the big guy an easier question than that? But apparently it was too difficult cognitively for Biden, who started rambling about times he's being told to close the door and how often he's asked, Mr. President, why are you going outside? And Don Lemon just nervously laughs along as if it was a normal response. Tragically, it wasn't even the craziest thing to be said at the town hall. In case you missed it, here is the now infamous moment Biden starts raving about whether there is a man on the moon.
You got the vaccination?
Yeah.
Are you okay? I mean, you seem, no, it works. Or or the mom and dad, or the neighbor, or when you go to church, or when you're, no, I really mean it. There are trusted interlocutors. Think of the people. If your kid wanted to find out whether or not there's a man on the moon or whatever, something, or, whether those aliens are here or not, who are the people they talk to beyond the kids who love talking about it?
Truly wild stuff. And here he is failing to answer basic questions on vaccines.
And the question is whether or not we should be in a position where you why can't the experts say we know that this virus is in fact it's going to be, or excuse me, we know why all the drugs approved are not temporarily approved but permanently approved.
Yeah. And it wasn't just comically bizarre gaffes. Biden made plenty of factually incorrect statements as well, some of which Don Lemon helped him correct in the moment before quickly trying to move on.
I want to say I'm in his territory. Portman is a good man. Portman is a congressman from this area. I talked to him before and I really mean it. He's a decent, honorable man, and he and I are working on trying to get this infrastructure bill passed.
But you're talking about Senator Ron Portman of Ohio.
I'm sorry. I thought.
Jeez, talk about a media protection racket. Could you imagine CNN doing that for Donald Trump or any Republican if they made even a slight mistake? And here is Biden falsely claiming that former Obama administration economist Larry Summers isn't worried about long-term inflation, despite the fact he co-wrote an op-ed titled "The Inflation Risk is Real."
People are coming back, and guess what? Instead of paying 10 cents, you're paying 20. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It relates to what, in fact, is now needed because we're growing. I don't know anybody, including Larry Summers, who's a friend of mine, who's worried about inflation, is suggesting that there's any long-term march here if we do the things we're going to do.
So what did CNN's online reporting of the event look like? Surely it focused on some of these howlers, giving the public an accurate portrayal of the event. Well, no, CNN's main digital wrap led with these three highlights. Biden explains how he's working to dispel vaccine misinformation. Biden slams Jim Crow on steroids. And President says he will keep fighting for the Dreamers. So with this degree of dishonest journalism, is it any wonder that viewers fled the propaganda fest? The town hall only had 1.5 million viewers, which Fox News beat by 83% at the same time. And for those who just read the CNN post-debate wrap, you would mistakenly think that Biden nailed it. So much for objectivity. Louise, what do you make of the way that the US media, particularly CNN, etc., are covering Joe Biden? And do you think there should be some tougher questions asked?
Oh, absolutely. There should be some tougher questions, and it shouldn't just be left to organisations like, Fox News and other outlets to put those to the president. I mean, he talks about aliens and a man on the moon, and that's all quite ridiculous. But for me, the most worrying part of that was his lack of knowledge or facts to hand about vaccines. And as we know, any politician in this climate who isn't totally on top of the vaccine rollout and the implications for their citizens is in real trouble. I mean, it's a very big nail in the coffin of their career. So for him to be very vague about when and where under 12 children, for example, in the US are going to be vaccinated was quite worrying. As a parent in the US, I'd be very worried to watch him talk about vaccines in that way.
Yeah, Caleb, Louise makes a really good point that there is an element of humour to it when he goes off script and he's losing his train of thought, but then there's also a serious side to it.
Oh yeah, and I mean some of these questions he receives, not only at this town hall but all over the joint, are softer than baby food, for heaven's sake. I mean, we saw how journos lined up during the Trump administration to ask tough questions and often very much leading questions of Trump and his administration. And quite often, he deserved to receive those questions. I mean, this is what journalists are meant to do. We're meant to ask tough questions. But it seems all too often with Biden that they either don't want to ask those questions or they know that asking those questions will reveal something that they don't want people to know or that might hurt Biden. Now, you can be critical all you want of Sky News, and many people are, it's full of conservatives. But, Alan Jones and every other broadcaster on this station will hold a politician to account even if they come from the same side of politics as them. Particularly, Alan Jones is a great example. He doesn't let anyone go. Doesn't matter where they come from, what party they're from. He will give props to people who deserve it and criticise people who deserve it. And in America, there is no appetite to do that amongst the left-wing media. And the result of that is that serious questions about not only America, but the rest of the free world go unanswered. They go unchecked. This is the guy with the nuclear codes. And if he is not held to account, that poses a serious threat to democracy and it poses a serious threat to America and the rest of the world. We are here as the fourth estate to try and hold these people to account. They had no problem holding Trump to account. In fact, they wanted to bring him down. But when it comes to Biden, if there is no appetite to hold him to account, they are not doing their job.